100 minutes, just one goal, one new champion. Welcome to This Explainer. We're breaking down a match that literally left millions of fans staring at their screens, completely wondering what on earth just happened. I mean, the 2026 World Cup final crowned a new champion for sure, but the real story is how they did it. It was an absolute masterclass in modern football strategy.
And really, it all boils down to one massive question that dominated every single post-match debate. How exactly did Spain stop Lionel Messi? Was Argentina simply outplayed? Did their manager get the tactics totally wrong? Or did Spain just pull off one of the most unbelievable defensive performances we've ever seen against a 39-year-old legend trying to write his perfect fairy tale ending?
Okay, let's dive into this. Because what we expected and what we actually got. Two very, very different things. On one hand, everyone expected this epic battle of giants. Spain's relentless possession and patience versus Argentina's pure Messi magic. We were all gearing up for a spectacular, end-to-end shootout. But the reality? Deep, clinical, tactical frustration. So let's look at exactly how Spain engineered that reality.
Section 1. The real target, stopping the spaces.
To really get this set up, we have to realize Spain's main target wasn't actually Messi himself, which sounds crazy, right? But assigning one guy to man-mark the greatest of all time? Yeah, that almost never works. He's way too smart for that. He'll just drag that defender out of position and bust the whole field open. So Spain did something totally different. They used a three-step press to stop the ball from ever reaching him in the first place. First, every single time Argentina tried to build from the back, Spain forced the passes sideways, keeping them far away from the dangerous central areas. Second, whenever Messi dropped deep to ask for the ball, boom, Rodri was already there, locking down that central lane. And third, the second the ball even hinted at moving toward Messi's zone, the closest Spanish midfielder just swarmed him. The defensive lines stayed incredibly compact, and just like that, his passing options simply vanished.
Tactical analysts actually call this the invisible prison. And this brilliantly illustrates what they mean. At first glance during the live match, you might have thought, man, Messi's just having a quiet game. But if you watch his movements on the replays, every single time he shifted, a Spanish player shifted right with him. It wasn't traditional tight man marking. They didn't stick to him so hard that they left massive gaps behind them. But they didn't give him an inch to turn either. He was basically trapped in this invisible cage. Sure, he could get the ball, but never, ever in the areas where he actually wanted it.
So the absolute key takeaway here is super simple. Spain didn't actually stop Messi. They stopped the spaces Messi loves. They didn't surround him because they were scared of him. They did it out of immense respect for what he can do. If he wanted to make a play, his only real choices were to pass backwards or try to dribble straight into a brick wall of 2 or 3 perfectly organized defenders.
Moving on to Section 2, Argentina's struggle, surviving, not attacking. Now obviously a football match doesn't happen in a vacuum. This invisible prison didn't just lock down Argentina's captain, it completely choked the life out of their entire rhythm. What happens to the star player creates a massive ripple effect across the other 10 guys. Normally Messi dropping deep is the ultimate trigger. It's the green light for runners to violently attack the space behind the defense. But Spain's positioning blocked all of those runs. Because Spain kept the ball so well, Argentina's explosive wingers had to spend huge chunks of the game sprinting backward just to defend. And the domino effect? Striker Julian Alvarez was left completely isolated up top on an island. No runners, zero service. For the vast majority of the final, Argentina wasn't attacking. They were just surviving.
Section 3. The unsung hero, Rodri's masterclass. Now, what's really interesting about this is we absolutely cannot talk about this tactical lockdown without highlighting the architect in the middle of the pitch, Rodri. A lot of folks saw him win the golden ball and thought, wait, why him over Messi? Well, it really comes down to what we value in football. We're wired to expect magic, right? Dribbling past 5 guys, screaming 30-yard wonder goals. But Rodri's reality was entirely different. He wasn't flashy at all. Instead, he offered constant passing angles. He meticulously protected his backline, hoovered up loose balls, and completely dictated the tempo of a World Cup final. He basically made one of the hardest defensive midfield jobs look like a total walk in the park and quietly controlled the entire game.
Section 4. The last 5 minutes. Breaking the cage.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because just when you thought Spain's tactical blueprint was totally flawless, we hit the final 5 minutes of regulation. And look, no matter how perfect the cage is, absolute greatness is going to try to break it. Right around the 85th minute, something just shifted. Messi stopped dropping deep and started pressing way higher up the pitch. Suddenly, that comfortable Spanish midfield looked genuinely rattled. And then, we saw that late-minute Messi brilliance. In the 87th minute, he hits this stunning long pass that totally bypasses Spain's defense, creating a sure one-on-one goal-scoring opportunity. Then minute 89, a massive shout for a foul during a dangerous attacking move. And right at the 90-minute mark, a heavy challenge on the edge of the box denied what looked like a second sure goal-scoring opportunity from one of his absolute favorite shooting positions.
Now, those last two moments became incredibly controversial. Argentina fans were furious, strongly feeling they were robbed of crucial late free kicks. But look, refereeing decisions are simply a part of football, and opinions are always going to differ on borderline high-speed incidents. While fiercely debated by fans all over the world, these non-calls are just a normal part of the sport, not proof of anything nefarious. But man, for a few terrifying minutes, it genuinely looked like Argentina's late surge was going to steal the match.
Section 5. The final verdict. Extra time and the winning goal. But football is a demanding game, and Spain survived that massive late scare. They held their nerve, absorbed that final burst of magic, and pushed the match into extra time. And that brings us to the moment that changed history. By extra time, the sheer physical toll of the previous 90 minutes just took over. Step 1. Fatigue becomes a massive factor. Step 2. Spain brilliantly uses their bench, bringing on fresh legs to make their attack quicker. Step 3. Because of that fatigue, those tight, suffocating spaces from regulation suddenly got way bigger. And finally, step 4, all it took was one moment of movement. One single defensive lapse from an exhausted Argentina backline, one clinical finish, and the World Cup belonged to Spain.
So, the crucial point is this. This wasn't a lucky break for Spain, and they didn't rely on one superhero defender. They executed a phenomenal, highly disciplined master plan. They completely controlled the midfield. They severely limited the spaces between the lines where Argentina usually thrives, and they forced the reigning champions to defend so deep for so long that when the critical moment arrived, Argentina simply had nothing left in the tank.
Messi still gave us flashes of absolute brilliance, especially in those final moments of regulation. But this explainer really highlights a fundamental truth of the sport. Sometimes the greatest football story isn't actually about the superstar who shines. It's about the team that finds a way to stop him. Even the absolute greatest individual in the history of the sport cannot dominate a match if his team can't consistently deliver him the ball in dangerous areas.
On that night, Spain proved that an organized collective really can neutralize a singular genius. The final wasn't decided by a single mistake or a referee's whistle, but by a 120-minute tactical lockdown executed with breathtaking discipline. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to take away. Does tactical discipline always conquer individual genius? Honestly, it's a debate that will live on as long as the beautiful game itself. Thanks for joining me for this breakdown, and keep questioning what you see out there on the pitch.